You can stay seated. Let's chill. Okay, I'm starting the timer. 3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, I'm Michael. This is my last speech, and today I'm going to be talking about congressional term limits and why I think they are a bad idea. So for those of you that don't know, on the federal level in the United States Congress, if you are a member of the legislature, the only term limit that you have is whether or not you can continue to win re-elections. If you don't, then you're out of office. If you continue to win your re-elections, you stay in. There is no limit set on how many terms in office you can serve. Now, a huge movement recently of young senators and U.S. representatives coming into Congress have been pushing for new laws which would put term limits on our members of Congress on the federal level. And I think that's a bad idea. Now, there are a couple of reasons why I think that's a bad idea, and we're going to talk about the reasons why experience, restrictions, and the power of the people are the main reasons why putting term limits on our members of Congress isn't necessarily the best idea. So let's talk about experience. A lot of these members of Congress currently serving have served at least 2 terms in their office. They know how to work the Washington machine to get stuff done for the people of their state or their district. Just some examples here of people that have served a long time. Orrin Hatch, who's the current president pro tem of the Senate, he's third in line for the president after the vice president and the Speaker of the House, has served 7 terms in Congress since 1977. He's represented his people well, the state of Utah, and he knows how to get stuff done. Other examples of current members in Congress, Patrick Leahy, who's the longest-serving Democrat in the Senate. He's from Vermont. He's been serving since 1975. Other examples, I'm going to throw out a lot of names at you. Don Young from Alaska has served 23 terms in Congress. The longest-serving congressman in history, John Dingell, represented parts of Detroit, Michigan for upwards of 60 years in Congress. The late Ted Kennedy served 9 terms in Congress up until his death in 2009. The longest-serving senator in U.S. history, Robert Byrd of West Virginia, served 9 terms in the U.S. Senate for West Virginia. And Daniel Inouye, a senator from Hawaii, served 9 terms in the U.S. Senate, and the first and only, well, not the only, but the first Native Hawaiian to hold a seat in the U.S. Congress. So a lot of those people, you notice, have a lot of experience in Congress. They know what they're doing, and it would be losing a valuable asset not to have those people on the ballot every time around. Think about it. Would you rather have someone who has served 2, 3, 4 terms in Congress running for re-election, or someone who has no idea what they're doing? If you put a term limit in there, you're going to rule out all that experience, and that right there is not something that you want. The experience aspect is huge when determining a congressperson. And if you put the term limits on, you're going to restrict who can run. And you're going to put a restriction not only on who can run, but also the power of the voters who might want to continue to re-elect somebody. Let me bring up an example here of Scott Sifton. Now, Scott Sifton, he is a state senator. He doesn't serve in the U.S. Congress. He serves in the Missouri State Congress. And the Missouri State Congress has a term limit rule. And Scott right now is in the middle of his last term. He cannot run again after his term is done in 2021. He's very popular. He's put into law a lot of very popular ideas, such as Senate Bill 655, which abolishes the statute of limitations for child sex crimes, and also Chloe's Law, which requires critical congenital heart disease screenings for all newborns to check for newborn heart disease. He is very popular within his district, and because of term limits, he can't run again. And that puts a real check on the power of the people as voters to put who they want as a representative into government. And that's an unnecessary check. If Scott Sifton can run for a 3rd term, it's a pretty good bet that he would win again. And imagine another term of Scott Sifton, what good he could continue to do. But because of the term limits placed upon the legislature, he can't do that in the state of Missouri, which is really sad. Now, you might be asking yourself, and this is the last point here before the conclusion, the people are the ones that continue to vote everyone in. But if you're a congressperson that has served so long, it's almost inevitable that you're going to win your re-election campaign every time. I mean, you're just that good. You've continued to win constantly, and then the power of the people is null. And I say That's wrong. Let me bring up two huge examples of this, one of them more recent and one of them kind of from the past. And I'm going to bring up the one from the past first. Peter Stark was a U.S. rep from California. He represented parts of Alameda County, which is southeast of Oakland, California. He was running for his 21st term in Congress. It was a shoo-in for this guy. But then he lost to fellow Democrat Eric Swalwell in the 2012 election. This is according to Politico and the Brookings Institute. And why he lost was because the people of his district felt as though he wasn't representing their values anymore. So they decided to give him the boot. And that's where it all happens. The people are the ones who have the power in our elections to influence who they want to send to Congress. Sure, they sent him there for 20 terms. But for that 21st term, they felt as though it wasn't time anymore, that his time was up. And that's the real power of the people. And another example of this, and the final example of this, is a man by the name of Joe Crowley. Now, Joe Crowley was a U.S. rep for the city of New York. He was one of the highest ranking Democrats in the United States House of Representatives. He served 10 terms between 1999 and his final term, which will be in 2019. He lost his re-election bid to fellow Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because of two reasons. Number one, he wasn't Latino. Now, the district where he represents, which is parts of the Bronx and Queens in New York City, is a very heavy Latino district. He's a white guy, and his challenger, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, obviously is Latino. She's from Puerto Rico, and she was able to win. Secondly, he wasn't progressive enough for the people of his district. Even though he was one of the top-ranking Democrats in the House, he still was not invincible when it came to this election. And he lost. And the power of the people prevailed. And that's the real main thing here. We are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So it would make sense that if the people want to continue to elect someone into Congress to represent their beliefs and values, despite that they've been serving for however long, it should be their right. Because after all, the government gets its power from us, not from itself. So to put any sort of congressional term limits in would be just one of the weakest things to ever happen. Because you're losing key experience from very long-serving members of Congress. You're putting restrictions on not only the people in Congress, but also the voters. And you're taking the power away from the American people to elect who they want to represent their beliefs and values up on Capitol Hill. Thank you.